Hey, mighty companions, this is Earl Purdy. I want to welcome you to a course in miracles. If we see things correctly, it's a miracle. If we forgive, give ourselves a break, it's a miracle. So I want to welcome my miracle-minded companions. We're going to be diving into lesson 52. Remember, you don't have to believe what I'm about to say. You don't have to accept what I'm about to say. You don't have to welcome what I'm about to say. Some of the ideas you might actively resist. Some of the ideas you may find hard to believe. Some of the ideas you may find quite startling. You're not asked to judge and analyze the ideas at all. It's their use. Using the ideas, using the ideas. Did I say using the ideas that will give the ideas meaning to you and will show you that the ideas are true. Lesson 52 in the Course of Miracles workbook, in the blue book, on page 84. I have to use little pieces of glass before my eyes in order to see. So that's the game I'm playing with myself. Page what? 84. Or page 84. The 5 thoughts that we're going to be reviewing are: I am upset because I see what is not there. I'm upset because I see what's not there. I'm upset because I see what's not there. Reality is never frightening. It's impossible that reality could upset me. Reality brings only perfect peace. When I am upset, it's always because I have replaced reality with illusions I made up. The illusions are upsetting because I have given the illusions reality and thus regard reality as an illusion. Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mind. Nothing in God's creation is affected in any way by this confusion of mind. I am always upset by nothing. I see only the past. As I look about, I condemn the world I look upon. I call condemning the world I look upon seeing. I hold the past against everyone and everything, making everyone and everything my enemies. When I have forgiven myself and remembered who I am, I will bless everyone and everything I see. There will be no past and therefore no enemies. And I will look with love on all that I failed to see before. Review thought number 3. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. So I see only my own thoughts, and my mind is preoccupied with the past. What then can I see as it is? Let me remember that I look on the past to prevent the present from dawning on my mind. Let me understand that I am trying to use time against God. Oh, wow. Let me learn to give the past away, realizing that in giving the past away, I am giving up nothing. Review thought number 4, which is, I see nothing as it is now. If I see nothing as it is now, it can truly be said that I see nothing. I can see only what is now. The choice is not whether to see the past or the present. Really, the choice is merely whether to see or not. What I have chosen to see has caused me vision. Now I would choose again that I may see. Thought number 5. My thoughts do not do what? My thoughts don't mean anything. My thoughts do not mean anything. Other people have been putting that for years, but you haven't. I have no private thoughts. And it's only private thoughts. It's only private thoughts of which I am aware. So what can these private thoughts mean? These private thoughts do not exist. And so private thoughts mean nothing. Yet my mind is part of creation and part of creation's creator. I not rather join the thinking of the universe than to obscure all that is really mine with my pitiful and meaningless, what kind of thoughts? Private thoughts. So that means that we're not going to sit around doing what we call spiritual book reports. What we're going to do, we're going to make this real. We're going to make this relatable. We're going to hopefully even let ourselves have some fun and make it a little funny for ourselves, because healing doesn't have to be heavy. That sounds like the title of a great song, doesn't it? Healing doesn't have to be heavy. Say it with me. Healing doesn't have to be heavy. What? Healing doesn't have to be heavy. So I want you to look around, and I see you on Zoom also. And I want you to see the brave miracle folks that are sitting right here in this room with you. I mean, look at this. Look at this. These miracle people in this room with you, because we're in for a transformational ride, right? Are you willing to take a transformation? See, that's what I said to somebody I met at a party that I wanted to get to know. I walk up to and say, hey, you ready for a transformational ride? See what happened when you say that. Where did she go? I thought she, wow, we were having a pretty good conversation until I said that. Right? So we want to realize that we're going to break down these 5 little miracle bombs, and we're going to apply them to the stuff that actually stresses us out. So we're going to apply this to bills. We're going to apply this to partners. We're going to apply this to politics. We're going to apply this to that driver that cut you off. Right? We're going to apply this to that inner voice that tells you that you're not doing it right. We're going to apply this to that part of you that feels like you're not enough. Are you ready to shut that voice up? You know, are you ready to shut the voice of fear up, the voice of worry up? Well, good. So am I. So let's get to rolling with this. Okay, so the first lesson, which is lesson 6, is I'm upset because I see what's not there. I'm upset because I see what's not there. And so what we want to do is hear the translation, right? So the translation would be, you're upset because you made it up. I'm upset because I made it up. Would you say that to yourself? I'm upset because I made it up. Yep, you're mad about what's really your own mental fiction. I love that. It's my own mental fiction. That's what I'm mad about. That's what a person's upset about. That's what's causing their pain. That's what's so great about the forgiveness ceremony that you facilitated yesterday, because it was so perfect for the lessons that we've been going through. You know, I mean, the reframing, all of that. So you thought somebody was ignoring you. The truth is, you got hurt by what you imagined they were thinking. Yeah. I said it again. We get upset by what because I realize I'm constantly imagining what people think. Have you ever thought about that and never just really thought about looking at it that way? But whenever you're upset about what you think somebody else is thinking, it's really what you are imagining somebody's thinking. So you are not seeing the truth. If I'm seeing what I'm imagining that you're thinking, if I'm seeing what I'm imagining that you're doing, then I'm not seeing the truth. And what you're really seeing is a horror movie. And it's a horror movie that's directed by your ego. Right? It's a horror movie that's directed by my fear. When I think about the world sometimes and read the paper, I'm looking at a horror movie that's directed by my fear. A horror movie that's, actually I've had relationships that were horror movies. Yeah. That were directed by my fear. Should have been rated R. You run. And then I've had relationships that were the best thing I could have ever imagined. But I noticed the ones that were the best I could have imagined, I was applying the Course in Miracles principles. And then the ones that weren't, I wasn't applying the principles that I'm studying right now. Because I see the Course in Miracles as the lazy man's guide to enlightenment in a way. Because really it's telling you exactly how to get out of your stress and your mental frustrations and your unhappiness. So you really don't have to figure it out. And sometimes I think people forget about that. Is that if you got a spiritual path that you believe in that's devoted to the truth, all of them are giving you instructions about how to let go of the blocks and how you can have more peace. So I often wonder why people sometimes, sitting around acting like the problem hasn't already been solved. And that reminds me of what the Course says. There's a workbook lesson that says, let me recognize the problem has been solved. The problem of separation has been solved because we're not really separate from each other, and we're not really separate from our Creator. We're not really separate from the Spirit, and we're not really separate from the truth. So, and then the Course defines separate as different. I like that definition. When it says I'm separate from God, I'm separate from love, it's really me saying I'm different from God, I'm different from love. So if you separate the word different, it kind of gives you a totally different slant on it. Separate from you seems like you're over there and I'm over here. Different from you is a different kind of energy. Me telling myself I'm different from you doesn't necessarily mean I feel like we're so physically separate, right? I think we're different. And the Course's whole premise is that we're the same. That's the whole premise. The world's premise is that we're all different. The Course's premise is that we're all the same. So you are seeing a horror movie that's been directed by your ego and directed by your fear, and we're going to say, just like the directors do, cut. Okay, cut. We're going to recast. And we're going to recast this horror movie, which it could be your financial horror movie, it could be your student loan horror movie, it could be your old age horror movie, it could be losing your hair horror movie. Even if I tried to let my hair grow out, it wouldn't grow out except around my head, like that. I had one of those that wouldn't have, because that's where my father's was. So I know what I'd be in for, And I'm too vain. At this point, I'm sure I get to a point I don't care, So we're going to recast, and we're going to recast with the Holy Spirit. So I want to throw out a question to the group. What's one situation this week where you now realize you were reacting to a mental movie and not what was really there? Who can give me one situation that they know they were reacting? Harlan, just say it loud for us so everybody can hear.
My name's Harlan. Yesterday I went to a workshop, and after the first thing, I realized I was concerned more with what other people were thinking, and it was like, oh, I need to take part in this, not stand over here and go, oh, that's not me.
Right.
And
right.
That was, I think, the same thing.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the situation that you realized you were reacting to your mental movie in place of what was really there. Anybody else have a situation this week that they know that they were reacting to what they were telling themselves more than what was there?
Yeah, I'm visiting Colorado, and there was a person that I was trying to schedule and arrange time to meet with, and there was 2 possible times, and so I don't need to get into all the details, but basically when I was oh, okay, how about this time? And I invited, I was is it okay if another person comes along who we both mutually know? And then they're oh, that's not going to work for me, have a good time. And I made up this story that that they were upset at me about it, and I don't know if that's true at all. I could just be in complete peace and say, oh, it is unfortunate that it didn't work out, and still but yeah, my internal guilt that shows up expects punishment or expects judgment.
Yes.
And so that's a lot of what was showing up, but rather than just giving myself peace and knowing what I don't know.
Knowing what I don't know. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else have a situation that came up for them that they knew they were making up a mental movie?
Yeah, I went to a breathwork ceremony yesterday and started out, as people were sharing what happened in their experiences, I started feeling myself comparing. Well, I didn't have that cool experience.
Yes. Right. Oh, we really go through that one a lot. I was talking to somebody recently who was upset with themselves because they didn't seem like they were having the psychic experiences that other people were having when they were in spiritual gatherings, and people said, oh, I went out beyond the stars, and and it was I don't feel like nothing's going on, right? So let's look at the next one, which is I see only the past. Here's a cool way to look at that. The Course says past means gone, G-O-N-E, Gone. I'm from the South, so we say gone. Okay. So the past is what? Gone. Okay. And so that means I see only the past means I see only the gone. That's what just said that way. I see only what's gone. I only see what's gone. And you know what? You know something that I think about when I look at the stars at night, and I realize I'm looking at those stars millions of years ago, because it took millions of years for that light to reach my. So actually, we don't really know the state of the universe now.
We don't.
And that's when you really think about that. We know the way it looked millions of years ago, right? So if we're looking at the stars and we realize that we're looking at the past because of the time it takes for the light to reach your eye, but that's just as true looking across the room. The same thing is still true. I'm never seeing you physically now. I'm always seeing you in the past, even if it's just a split little half a second or whatever that it takes for the light to reach my physical eyes. So I see only the gone. Another thing the Course says about the past is that the past is your past learning. So that when you look at it, he says that use the example of when you hold a cup, how would you know if that cup would break or not if it was not for your experiences of cups in the past? So are you really seeing the cup? Are you really seeing your past and the past experiences? So one thing we want to keep in mind is, do you ever meet somebody and feel like they remind you of your ex? Have you ever met anybody that you thought reminded you of or it could be someone you were in a relationship with before, and now you're back in the relationship with them, and you can do the same thing, like you're doing stuff that reminds me of the past. So that's this lesson. You're not really seeing them. You're seeing, and I like this word, you're seeing your history. You're not really seeing them, you're seeing your history. I'm seeing my history of relationships. So you walk into the room and then you immediately judge according to the past pain that you've gone through. I've talked to people lately who've had challenges in relationships, and they're very afraid to get into another relationship because all they're remembering is the history. They're just remembering the pains that they have gone through in a special relationship, and it's making them go, I don't know if I really want to get into that again. But why? It's because of your history. It's about the past pain that you went through. So the lesson says basically, and this is a good way to look at it, it's basically saying to you, try looking now, not yesterday. Try looking now. Like, right? The Course says that memory is a skill that we made up, and it's not a skill that God gave us. Memory is a skill we made up. And we use memory to remember what's happened in the past. And then we judge what's happening now based on our past memory. But there's another interesting thing the Course says, which is you can use memory to remember now. I could remember to stay present with you all. Let me remember to stay present. And I find myself doing that more now when I begin to drift off. If I'm in a situation, let's say like this, and I find myself being tempted to daydream, then I have to remember to be present. To be present. And the easiest way to be present is to take whatever is happening and relate it to yourself and something that's going on in your life and how you can relate this to yourself, right? So the combination of following along in the book if you can, and seeing how what I'm saying you can relate to it to your own experience will help you stay conscious throughout the whole time that we're studying together. But people who listen and don't get engaged tend to go unconscious. And so the easiest way to stay conscious, another way you can stay conscious is to just be conscious of sitting in the chair and how the chair feels against your back or how it feels against your butt. You know, what the temperature in the room is. All you have to do is take a minute to come back. So the next time you feel irritated, ask yourself, am I seeing this person? I'm irritated with you. Am I really seeing you, or am I seeing my past pain? Am I seeing you, or am I seeing every woman that I've ever experienced in my life? Am I seeing you, or whatever has happened in the past that's related to this? Because I want to give us some practical application. So just keep in mind that when you're irritated, I say it again, when you're feeling irritated with a person, try to remember to ask yourself, Am I seeing this person or am I seeing my past pain?
I have a question. So I pulled my shoulder, and so I've been really trying not to focus on it, but it's annoying and frustrating. So it's not another person, but it's like a physical something.
Right.
So how do we relate that to this?
Well, the way that you're interpreting the pain, are you interpreting the pain based on what you learned from the world in the past? Or are you interpreting the pain based on what the Course is teaching now, which is that pain is a proof of self-deception? This pain is my call for healing, my call for help, my call for love. This pain is my attempt to convince myself I'm a body and I'm not an unlimited child of God. So looking at the pain differently would be me using the interpretation of the pain that the Course is teaching me. Does that make sense? So you still got what you would call the pain, but now you're using the pain to remind you of the truth. So if you use pain to remind you of the truth, the part of you that wants you to be in pain, it doesn't want you to remember the truth. So if you use the truth to remember, if you use the pain to remember the truth, the part of you that creates the pain eventually stops creating your focus on the pain. So it's not that we won't still have things happen in the world when we're here in Earth School. What the Course is doing is giving us a retranslation and a reinterpretation of everything that's going on here that will give us more peace so that we can hear our own inner guidance, the Holy Spirit. Because the name of the game is to put you in the hands of your own Holy Spirit. And so the Course is teaching us how to get rid of the conflict so we can hear our own inner guidance. Because I've noticed, again, when it says when people are in conflict, they don't want an answer. And first time I read that in the Course, I said, well, what? He said, no, people in conflict don't really want an answer that resolves the conflict. They've already decided that the conflict is the answer. The answer is, I'm upset about what you did last night. Me getting upset about it is the answer. You think about that, we do it all the time. We think us feeling the conflict is the answer. And that's why the Course says that when a person's in conflict, it's hard for them to hear the answer because they've already, because I had a situation just the other day where I was giving a person, because I don't give unsolicited advice if I can help it, and the person wanted my advice. And what I noticed was, even though I was giving solutions that I knew would make a difference, I kept seeing that there was no solution that I could give them that was satisfactory, which let me know that they just wanted to be in conflict. And the punishment that they were giving themselves for being in conflict was they thought that was the solution to it. I think the solution is just feeling bad. Yeah, and I know that one so good. I'm dissatisfied about my life. I think the answer we call it depression. It's just me feeling bad. So the Course is saying, let's take a look at the next review here. Okay. So the third one we're going to see is my mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts. Because it's like our mind is a radio. And it's like our mind is stuck on the all the anxiety all the time station. Okay. And and guess what? You're the DJ, baby. All right? You're the DJ. So I want you to do a miraculous thing. What do you think that is? Change the friggin' channel. Change the channel. You're stressed about what might happen, right? You're stressed about what might happen because you're still chewing on what's already happened. You're stressed in this situation because, okay, they're already late for the appointment, and now you're stressed because of something that's already happened. And I thought about that. I went, that's kind of deep when you really think about it. Most of the time, I'm upset about what's already happened. So that lets me know that I'm getting upset about something that I really can't change anyway because it's already happened. So then you ask yourself, are these thoughts that I'm having about the gone? See, that's why I like the word gone instead of the past. All these thoughts that I've had because of the gone. So when you get a chance, I'm trying to bring more and prepare and bring more practical things to the course. And one of the things you want to do is you want to take about 30 seconds and you want to write down three thoughts that you have been on repeat about in your mind all week long. Come up with 3 things that you found yourself thinking about all week long. All week long.
Thoughts from the past, or
Yeah, something this week that you've been thinking about over and over. And in most cases, it is either thoughts of the past or thoughts of the future. But we're talking in this case about thoughts of the past. My ego tends to live in the past the more than it lives in the future. I have a tendency to focus on things that are gone. I guess because the future is more unknown, and the past is something I think I know. So I think I focus on the past. And then you ask yourself, are these thoughts about something that's gone? If you're thinking about a relationship, are these thoughts about something that's gone? And so you want to do that. This week you want to focus on, am I thinking thoughts about things that are not now? Am I having a lot of thoughts about things that are not here? Usually when I find that people want to make a change in their life and they want to make a new beginning, or they want to start their career and do it differently, or they want to make a big shift in their experience, the first thing their ego does is, first of all, think about what happened in the past, right? Because they think that's wisdom. I'm going to use the past to determine what's going to happen right now. And the Course says that's delusional because you're not focusing on what's now. So when I get ready to, like, the first thing that happens to me, like, I'm rebranding in a lot of ways right now. I'm giving myself a new energy. What the Course would call it, a symbolic gesture to show that I'm willing to have a change in my teaching ministry. I don't think any of the things that I'm doing actually make the change happen, but the Course calls it being a symbolic gesture to show Spirit that you're willing to have that situation. Okay? So then I've got a brand new website that I have had done, and I'm doing multiple more social media stuff, and I've been getting some great feedback from people to the point that actually they're saying now is one of the things they really look forward to every week is the newsletter that I'm doing and the link, right? And so before I got ready to do that, the first thing I asked myself, don't get in the past, but ask yourself, what resources do you have available to you right now? Because the ego was going to try to get me to spend a whole lot of money or to buy a whole lot of stuff or to get a whole lot of stuff. The ego always goes to what you do not have. It always goes to what's lacking. So because in the past, see, I've done this 40 years. So in the past, I went out and got, big amplifier systems and speaker systems and, all these different things, right? And so I went into debt. But then, I already have a place to teach. I already have the book. I know, what I'm saying? It's like I already have the resources to get that done. So my point is, I wasn't thinking about the past. I was thinking about what was present now, because the point of power is now. So whatever it is, and that's one of the things you might want to use as an affirmation. The present is the point of power. I like to say, my present is my point of power. All my power is where? Now. Is right now in the present. Which leads us to number 4, lesson 9, which is another way of saying what we've been saying. I see nothing as it is now. One of the challenges that I've gone through in terms of trying to heal in relationships with people that I had a challenge with in the past, and maybe I was acting out of my unconsciousness and I said and did some things that I regret now, right? And then you want to make amends. And the thing that's interesting to me is how they treat you like you are the same person that you were years ago when you had that experience with them. And you're still trying to go, well, obviously I'm not the same person, or I wouldn't be here trying to make amends. That's the most obvious way you know I'm not the same person. Because if I'm the same person, I'd probably be treating you now like I did then. Yeah. Or having the same attitude towards you now as I did then. So the mere fact that I'm even standing in front of your face saying, I want to do this differently, ought to let you know that I am not the person that you thought that I used to be. So I see nothing as it is now. You could just easily say, I see no person as they are now, right? I'm willing to open up to the possibility that you could be different than you were, because guess what? I'm different from the way I was. So if I can change, you can change. And if you can change, I can change. Unless I want to be preoccupied with what's gone and I'm just dealing with you in terms of what I experienced with you in the past. Okay, so you think you're seeing what's real, but it's really your judgments. And those judgments are fogging up your lens. I like that. Your judgment are fogging up your lens. And so that means you're looking through what I like to call the ego's dirty windshield. Right? We drive down the street. We've all had that experience. We drive down the street, the windshield gets dirty, and you use your windshield wipers. And then once the windshield wipers operate, you can see the road clearly. This is exactly what the Course in Miracles is trying to get us to understand. That you're looking at your world through your ego. You're looking at the world through your past learnings. You're looking at the world through the past and what you experienced in the past and what you learned in the past. And what if what you learned in the past is not true? That's what people never ask themselves. I'm looking at, if I had to learn that I was a kangaroo, you all would be calling me a kangaroo right now. We'd all feel like we were doing the right thing because we were taught that I'm a kangaroo. And then I would be wondering why in the hell I don't have a pouch and I can't hop. Right? It's like, especially if I was around real kangaroos, I'd have a real self-esteem problem. Right? I would have a big sweat because I'm trying to do something based on the wrong idea of who I am. So would I win the kangaroo hopping race? No. I would feel like something was wrong with me. Right? Mm-hmm. Well, that Course in Miracles to me is basically saying the exact same thing to us. The reason why you all are struggling is you're holy children of God and you think you're just these physical bodies. And because you think you're these physical bodies that's being judged by what you've done in the past, you struggle because you are not aware of your true power. And what is your true power? You are a creator. You have the ability to create through your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and beliefs. You have the ability to extend love. You are an eternal, immortal being. You're not a victim of anything that you see because it's coming from your mind. And your mind is the creator of your experience. And you don't know that. So your life is a struggle because things you could just magnetize or attract or create, you're busy trying to get based on what the world has taught you about yourself. So you all struggle because you're not being true to your true nature. And that's why so many people are in pain and in struggle. They are the person that thinks they're the kangaroo. And then they're trying to do what the kangaroo does. You're more than your bodies. You're more than what the world has taught you that you are. And so the Course teaches that every problem is an identity problem. Yes. I love that. Every problem you have is based on you have the wrong idea about who you think you are. And it teaches that the idea that's the most wrong is that you're sinful and that you're separate and that you're guilty, which it calls the same thought. That if you create through your thoughts and you have a core belief that you're guilty, sinful, not enough, then you're going to create a reality that validates that. So your life is going to reflect back to you what you believe about yourself. So your life is always reflecting your beliefs, but it's not necessarily reflecting you. So never say what I see is necessarily me. It's not that what you're seeing is you. What you're seeing is your thoughts. What you're seeing is your beliefs about yourself. We're less than 52 when we are. So that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a projection of your own thoughts. And if your thoughts about the past, would you reproduce the past? Yes. And another reason you'll be attracted to somebody who reminds you of your past is because it also makes you think you know what's going on. Right? And one thing that adults are addicted to is believing that their judgments are correct. Right? Because the adults are trying to convince themselves that they know what's going on. right? That's what adults tend to want to be right more than they want to be happy, right? So that means that so when something tells us that our judgments are incorrect, it bugs us. Because what is it that I have to depend on the most is what I think of as my ability to judge what's going on in my life. So if you tell me that my way of seeing things and my judgments are incorrect, then you're plugging into the part of me that feels like, oh my God, I don't really know what's going on. And then the Course says, you don't. You do not understand anything you see. And until you realize that, I can't give you a real answer about what you're seeing unless you're willing to let go of the idea that you are right even when you're wrong. The humor of the Course is so cool because one of the lines is funny to me. It says, every day you get up with the goal of being right, even if you're wrong. So that's how you all set out today. My goal today is to be right all day, even if I'm wrong. And it's the truth. It's the truth. We want to be right more than we want to be happy. Now when I'm unhappy, or now when I'm going through conflict, you know what my mantra is, my affirmation is, I hope that I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope, especially if I have a particular day that I'm focusing on the past and I'm tempted to feel depressed. Those are the days I go, oh, I'm not seeing nothing correctly right now. I hope I'm wrong about this. You know, you having financial problems, say you hope you're wrong about them. You having spiritual problems, say you hope you're wrong about it. You having relationship problems, say I hope I'm wrong about the way I look at relationships. Because if not, you will use what's happened in that relationship or situation as justification to not let yourself receive love in the future. And so not giving yourself a relationship because you're afraid of them is not the same as saying you're healed. It just means you don't want to put yourself in that arena again based on your past, right? So when you're not afraid to enter and you realize, well, if it doesn't work out, I'll survive. Now that's the person that's more ready for a relationship. I knew one time I was in a relationship and one of the most shocking things that the person said to my specialist at the time was they were pretty sure they could get over me. And we were still together. I was like, is this a hint from the Holy Spirit about what I might be in for in the near future? But it's a funny thing, though. Once a person is not afraid to lose, that's when they really do release you and give you freedom and become easier to get along with. So actually, the relationship became more peaceful because she wasn't insecure. But my specialist took a hit. That's what I call it. You know, the part of you that wants to believe this person could never be the same without you. You're the one. They'll never get over you. Have you ever, do you remember the person you were in a relationship with years ago? Do you think about them? And you be honest, in most cases you go, well, actually, no. Well, I don't know how to break it to you. But they probably have forgotten you too. Yeah. But my specialist tells me stuff like that. Does yours? My specialist tells me, nobody forgets Earl. Nobody forgets Earl. Earl was a once in a lifetime. And so I'm glad I was once in a lifetime. That's okay. And as a matter of fact, I really realized when I look back at my past, I received so much more love than I was aware of. And I was being treated with so much more love than I knew. And so when I forgive and do all these forgiveness ceremonies and other things from the Course, I think I'm doing them to forgive somebody else. And I realize the more I wake up on my spiritual path, I apply it to me. I go, oh man, you could have been a better father. You could have been a better husband. You could have done this. You could have been a better supervisor. I know it's hard for you to believe. I used to be one time I had a lot of incarnations in this incarnation, and there was a time I was a telephone installer repairman. And now when I pass by poles, it is hard for me to believe that I used to climb poles with those little spikes on my feet in all kinds of weather and all kinds of stuff. And I had just got into metaphysics. I was in my 20s, and I was working on, creative visualization and treasure. I mean, all of that. All that manifestation stuff worked for me. It absolutely 100% worked for me. And I made the most startling realization from that. I still wasn't happy. I had every single I'm not one of these people who on there transition bed, or they call it death bed. I call it liberation bed. I'm not going to be on my liberation bed going, oh, I wish I had done this. And that's what I feel about all the stuff I did that was even dumb. I'm glad I did them. Because they gave me experiences I wouldn't have had otherwise, right? Because I was willing to risk and try some new things. Because the temptation, being the age that my body is now, is that you don't do nothing. Because you feel like you already know how it's going to turn out before you even do it. So most of the time you just eat and talk. If people say, let's party, and really say, let's get together and eat and talk. Yeah. That's what happens sometimes, especially over 50. It's like, whoa, I'm getting ready to twerk. I'm out there by myself. Okay, so my point is, all of it was good. All of it served a purpose. All of it was, so if you want to make your past, if you want to forgive your past, all you have to say is, everything I experienced in my past was for my own best interest. And your past is now resolved. But the person who wants to judge, condemn, and hurt themselves because of their past, then they're not going to want to do that. They're going to want to focus on everything that happened that caused them pain, so that they can still be always trying to work out the issues of the past. But I don't have any issues to work out in my past if it was all good. If I can see it as serving some positive outcome that even if I don't know what that was, and I don't know how it happened, so that it helped me be in the present. So let's look at the next one. I see nothing as it is now, right? I'm going to finish that. So you think you're seeing what's real, right? And we got the past and judgments that's fogging up your lens. You're looking through a dirty windshield, and you ever try to drive when you got a dirty windshield? That's your mind without forgiveness. See, without forgiveness, you're trying to drive with a dirty windshield. I said again, without forgiveness, now let's give it the Course in Miracles definition of forgiveness. Correct perception. The Course in Miracles definition of forgiveness is true perception. Let's make it easier. A perception, according to the Course in Miracles, now I always say according to the Course in Miracles, I'm trying to let you know I'm not giving you Earl's wisdom. Okay, it's not me making up this, right? And so it says, forgiveness is, a perception is an interpretation. I like that. So forgiveness is correct what? Interpretation. I've forgiven you if I've interpreted you correctly. And if I'm interpreting you correctly, guess what I'm saying? I'm saying that you're not your past. And I'm not going to look at you in terms of my past or yours. Now my perception is correct. Now I've forgiven you. I'm seeing you as you are now. And you know how you are now? You either expressing love or you calling for love. That's all you doing. That's all everybody's doing. They're either expressing love or they're calling for it. And he says, if you use that judgment, now your judgment and your desire to judge won't hurt you. Because I like to judge. That's why I gave up on not judging. It's just too big of a strain. So what I wanted to do was use the right judgment. So now if I get upset with somebody, I try to go, you freaking call for love. See, because it didn't say I had to always be smiling. It just says it's love or call for love. So it's okay for me to say that when I'm mad. It's okay for me to say that when I'm depressed. It's okay for me to say that when I'm angry. You call for love. But that judgment has never hurt me. Because that judgment is calling for love. And what makes a thought powerful is emotion and feeling. So if you're saying something with emotion and feeling, even if it's something you think is negative, you're still putting some feeling behind it, which is 10 times better than to be saying stuff and it doesn't affect you at all. Oh, it's a call for love. So my point is that we are already given new interpretations that will keep us in the now. See, all these interpretations I've been given today, every time you use any of them, now you're present, right? So what would be the inspiration? The Holy Spirit as the defroster. The Holy Spirit is going to defrost your windshield so that you can see. Doing your workbook lessons, Say, I'm upset with somebody today, I need to do some defrosting. I got some serious defrosting going on right now. And that's how you would move past, I see nothing as it is now, okay? Now, don't forget, you want to watch these classes and listen to them at least 4 times, Earl, and anybody that's listening. Why? Because it's through repetition that we remember any of this. It's through repetition, right? So let's look at lesson 10. And I'd like you to say this out loud right behind me. My thoughts do not mean anything.
My thoughts do not mean anything.
Does it bug you? Is any part of you that gets bugged when you say, my thoughts don't mean anything? Because there's a part of you that wants, well, my thoughts do mean something. What are you talking about? My thoughts don't mean anything. So what the heck are you talking about? Well, I call this thought a thought that's slapping the ego. Because it's my ego. What do you mean? My thoughts are important. My thoughts are valuable. It says, your thoughts, all it's basically saying is that your thoughts are not deep. Your thoughts are not deep spiritual insights. Guess what your thoughts are and my thoughts are? And it's a perfect word. Noise. You think about that. You don't really try to analyze noise. You just try to get rid of it. So if you were to call your ego thoughts, your fear thoughts, your guilt thoughts, your thoughts of lack, your thoughts of not being enough, say, I've been having some noisy thoughts today. I had some noisy thoughts on the way over here, worried about the run and how it might affect people being able to get to the class. And what was I doing? I wasn't being in the present. I was projecting into the future, right? And I didn't have nobody was running, right? I didn't run into one runner, didn't see one, but I was all ready for it, right? Because of the past. I was looking at it based on the past, and I projected it into the future. So think about the time that you worried about something, and it never happened. And then you think, boy, I could have not been worried all that time. I could have actually had total peace all that time. And then sometimes I'll do that and then think about my whole life. And I go, oh my God, how much time I've wasted on worrying about things that never even happened. That's noise. That's noise. So we want to make sure that you realize not every thought you have is worthy of your belief. Not every thought you have is worthy of your belief. Your mind is like a browser with 200 tabs open. Did you hear me? Yeah. Your mind is like a browser with 200 tabs open, and most of those tabs are spam. In my past, it wasn't just a spam folder. It was a spam holder. So close them. Close your tabs. What do you mean close your tabs? Realize that every thought you have is not really worth your belief. It's not really worth putting that time and energy into. So I'd like for you to close your eyes right now. I call it close the body's eyes, because you're not your body. I said that for 45 years, and my mind has finally really started to accept that. So when I look at, I don't say I see people walking down the street. I say, oh, their body's walking down the street, and this body's going into that grocery store, and this body's moving out on the dance floor. So close your eyes, and I want you to hear a thought, because you know you got thoughts right now. Now, I want you to say to yourself, even if you're having a thought about what I'm saying right now, how you're going to react to what I'm saying, but even if you are reacting to what I'm saying, say that thought doesn't mean anything, but this is the sentence I want you to follow up with. This thought doesn't mean anything, or that thought does not mean anything. And here's the biggie. Ready? I do not have to believe it. This thought doesn't mean anything. It means I don't have to believe it. My thoughts are telling me I'm not valuable. I'm not valued. That thought doesn't mean anything. I don't have to believe it. My thought is telling me I'll never have a relationship that really works for me. That thought doesn't mean anything. I don't have to believe it. It's a thought that says I'll never get my bills paid off, and I'll never have savings or whatever. Now, that thought doesn't mean anything. I don't have to believe it. I don't have to believe it. All right. So let me give you, or we can call you a cheat code. You're not upset for the reason you think. Your past is messing with your perception. And you can choose peace instead of panic. But I can choose peace. Oh my God, I missed this appointment. I could choose peace instead of panic. Oh my goodness, I didn't get this done at the time I thought I needed to get it in. I can choose peace instead of this, right? I can choose peace instead of panic. So I'm gonna throw these out, whether you do them or not. I'm gonna give you an assignment before the next class. Those of you online, I love you and appreciate you too, and I want you to do the same thing. I want you to pick one situation that triggers you. And I want you to say this. I'm not upset for the reason I think. You got the situation that triggers you? Okay. I'm not upset for the reason I think. I'm upset because I'm seeing what is not there. I'm not upset for the reason I think. I'm seeing what's not there. I'm seeing my history, my mental thoughts. I'm seeing my projections. I'm seeing my learning. I'm upset because I'm seeing what's not there. And then the next time we get together, then we could ask each other, what's really changed? We want to see what was the miracle for you. What's the miracle motion? That's what I like to call it for you right now. So take a breath. And we're going to repeat this 3 times. I'll say it and then you say it. I am entitled to miracles.
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 I am
Entitled to miracles. Would you acknowledge yourself for hearing this much with me today? Come on now, give yourself what you like the world to give you. Because all that you give is given to yourself. All that you give is given to your what? Self. To yourself. The world is going to reflect back to you how you feel about yourself. And so I'm going to pass this around and give you an opportunity to share if you choose, which I appreciate so much. Those of you online, if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation, I'm so grateful for your willingness to be a channel to help support my teaching ministry and what we're doing, because it's going to get deeper. There's going to be a lot of symbolic gestures going on. I got a lot of ideas the Spirit's given to me. I'm going to make these classes more and more interesting, hopefully. Want to invite those of you in the Denver area to come in person to 1555 Race Street, 1555 Race Street in Denver, Colorado, 80206. Let's build community. Let's come together. Let's support each other. It feels good to be in each other's presence. It feels good. And those of you on Zoom, thank you for tuning in who can't be here on the physical level. I appreciate that. If you want to make a financial expression of appreciation, you can go to my website, earlpurdy.com, www.earlpurdy.com, Venmo, the Cash App, PayPal, Zelle, Square, You can all use those. All you need is my email address, Earl Purdy at earlpurdy.com, P-U-R-D-Y, Earl Purdy at earlpurdy.com. I'm available for clarity sessions, one-on-one sessions, mentoring, coaching, working with you personally to show you that your problem has already been solved. I'm also available for astrological, numerological sessions. Also, Spirit speaks to us through everything that we've learned. Sometimes people ask me, how does the Course in Miracles correspond with astrology? I said, well, how does the Course in Miracles correspond with being a secretary, a teacher, an electrician, whatever you do? You know, the point is, whatever you learn, Spirit can use it as a tool for awakening and also can use it for the benefit of others. Plus, I'm trying to reach old souls who realize Earth is a school, that we're here to learn, that there are things that we need to correct within ourselves, who don't believe we were just dropped in here by accident, that there is purpose and meaning to our existence, that we did come here with a blueprint, with the intentions of our soul for why we were born. Your life has purpose. Don't believe what the world teaches you, that it's all an accident, you know, and because everything that happens to you is planned by someone whose only desire is your good. Everything. I know that it doesn't seem like it all the time. I'm not debating about that. There's certainly things that don't make you feel good and you don't feel good about. But we also heard today how we could see that differently. See, when I do a class, my number one purpose is practicality. I want to teach in a way that gives people practical tools to use to make the difference. Because one of the questions that I hear a lot from people is, well, what do I do? And I say, I just spent that whole class telling you exactly what the truth is saying you should do. So you would have to hear what I just said and do it to get the result. So usually when people say, so what do I do? They're looking for validation of the way that they've already decided it should be handled. And so that's why they didn't hear the real answer, because their mind was preoccupied with their own past learning and own past thoughts. And so I like that. I like thinking about that. So, okay, so mighty companions, let's take a breath here. We're gonna land this plane, and I got some cool stuff that I want to take into the after class discussion for those who can stick around, because us getting a chance to talk is so powerful. And online, thank you for watching. Please share the videos. And please like and follow and subscribe, because they're on Facebook. I have over 1,000 classes on YouTube. I've got hundreds of classes on Facebook. I'm upset because I see what is not there after me. I see only the past.
I see only the past.
My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts.
My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts.
Let me do this differently. Okay, see it this way. I am upset because I see what is not there in this situation. I am upset because I see what is not there in this situation. I see only the past in this situation. I see only the past in this situation. You all know the situation. My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts in this situation.
My mind is preoccupied with past thoughts in this situation.
I see nothing as it is now in this situation. I see nothing as it is now in this situation. And last one, my thoughts do not mean anything in this situation. My thoughts do not mean anything in this situation. And guess what? I do not have to believe it. I do not have to believe it. Okay, let's give us another acknowledgement. Come on, let's do it. I am so grateful to you. I am so grateful. You are my saviors. You are my healers.